been a minute since I've done a deck diary, and I kind of woke up early today and started a project that I didn't mean to take this far, but now here we are, and I figured I would record a bit of it. So, Serpent Fire. I've had this deck for a while, and in the last week or two, after sitting in the cabinet, kind of forgotten for like a year or so, I suddenly was feeling very drawn to this deck. I think it's a great counterbalance to the rest of my practice right now, like the other decks I've been working with. And also, it's kind of perfectly spring into summer type vibes. Just in the color palette, and I don't know. I'm just feeling it. Like, look at these beautiful edges and these beautiful backs. And yeah, I just kept getting it in my mind's eye. So I pulled the deck out, but this is very much one that has unique imagery. I really like the guidebook. And I started thinking, you know what? I'd really love to do some kind of my own personal guidebook with this deck. And it's something I'd really like to do with a number of decks, even ones that I've worked with quite a bit, because the unique, like, one that comes to mind is Hush Tarot. Another one is Botanica. I would love to do personalized guidebooks for these decks, but it is kind of an overwhelming task to take on. However, I perused YouTube, got some inspiration. Dawn Michelle's video about creating her, or like how she studies a deck with Moonchild really inspired me. And so I was sitting with the whole idea of how I wanted to do this. And I decided I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to dedicate a whole little notebook to it that I had aside for something else, but it's not working for that right now. Long story. And here's what I wound up with. So Midori, which is like probably one of my favorite little notebook or insert notebook companies, has these A6 kind of journals that have a good amount of pages in them. They also have a little string tab, which is nice. And they come totally blank. I already did the cover part, so I guess I'll put in a picture or something of how they look when you get them, but they're totally blank. The only thing maybe you can see is that it does have this like stitched spine situation here, which I'm finding even with this sticker paper I used doesn't really, well, we'll see, because I kind of have been leaving it to see if it'll set, but it doesn't want to stick to the bendy part of the spine, which is maybe it's like a necessary thing, I guess, because this might not be flexible enough for this super bendy spine to adhere to this back part. So that's fine, but I seem to have gotten it to adhere to the side panel, at least. And when it comes to the actual front cover, it adheres beautifully. The paper I wound up using is one that I've switched over to for journaling now, and it's the clear or frosted, or I think it's just clear matte inkjet paper from Online Labels. They have all kinds of different papers if you don't want it to be transparent. They have ones that are not transparent, but the one I used is transparent. It's matte. And I just kind of guesstimated with measurements, but also I used Canva. And using Canva, you can measure things out to a degree when you're stretching out an image or shrinking it down. So that is how I went about that. And, you know, it's not perfect. You can see a little edge here. I put the High Priestess on the back. You can see a little edge here. It's whatever. To do this, I just took a picture of the back of the cards and then, you know, the front of the High Priestess, set them up in Canva and scaled them to the size of this notebook. And then I put a strip of pink in between them, which honestly could have been a little wider to get this sitting on the spine more better. And then the other thing I'm learning is to give yourself some extra grace on the size when you're doing this for a notebook, because you can just trim it down a little more if you need to. But if you don't have enough, well, then you don't have enough. Doesn't really matter. I don't need this to be perfect. So now I have Diaries of a She Wolfe for my She Wolfe Tarot deck. And I'm already excited. This is why I went through the extra effort to decorate this in this way, because when I look at this, I feel excited to do this because it's cute. I feel like I want to fill it up. Not perfect, but cute. So mission accomplished. The next thing I did was organize some of the cards. I'm not doing them all at once today. But I think I got basically half-ish, not quite half the deck, and laid them out in fours, took a picture of each row, put all that in the Canva. You can use the background remover tool to clear out the background, and then you just have the cards. And from there, I also guesstimated size-wise what I wanted to have it fit in here. And I have printed 2 sheets. Figured that was enough to do for today. 2 full sheets of each of the cards because I really want to have a visual of the cards in this. Since the visuals are so unique, it's kind of the whole point of doing a guidebook for me. And I'm very visual. If I just put this without the visuals, I'm not going to feel as enthusiastic about it and as connected to it. So it's worth it for me. It kind of sucks in terms of using up printer ink to print a whole deck's worth of cards. But whatever. I mean, I'm printing out images all the time to put in my journal. So at least this is not like, if I do this with altered tarot, I'm going to probably go through a whole cartridge of black ink. I'm going to have to think about whether or not I want to do that, because I wanted to do this with witches tarot also. So I just have to be mentally prepared for that. But anyway, I have all of these. I'm going to cut them out and start putting them in here. Maybe do a few of that with you guys, and then talk about how I'm approaching this. But I'm going to cut these out and then come back, because this is going to be a project I'm going to put on one of y'all's videos so I can hang out and snip away at this. The good thing with the transparent matte paper, I don't have to be perfect about the edges. I just need to cut down the middle of all the spaces in this. And how even or uneven the edges are really won't matter. That's what I really like about this transparent matte sticker paper, is it gives you that leniency. So, okay. We're all cut out. That actually did not take long, even though this is quite a lot of cards, but because I don't have to be too careful about it, we're all good. So I think what I would like to do is to leave this blank, talk about the deck, some of the more, I don't know, technical, who the artist is, and then maybe pull a couple things out of the intro that I might want to keep for my own about the intention of the deck and what this is about and everything. And then keep this page for my first impressions, which I actually have written in another notebook, so I'll just transcribe that into here. Then I think what I'm going to do, I'm pretty good with the size that these wound up being. I don't need to see all the details. I just want to be able to visually recognize the card to trigger my mind as I get to know the deck, and then I'm flipping through. Now, honestly, I kind of would want to lay it out like this, and then have like keywords, key phrases here, and then go a little bit more into the meaning. But I think I'm keeping it a whole spread per card because I do have enough pages to do that in the majors, and I think also with minors and everything else. And if I do that, all the images are going to end up stacked here is the only thing. So I don't know if I should alternate, because just in terms of this kind of getting bulked up, it might be better if I alternate. I might do that. yes. Because all the stickers are going to be stacked into like this section of the entire book. So it's going to bulk it up a little bit. But the other thing with this paper is this sticker sheet is I do find it seems like a touch thinner than if I was using printer paper, or at least decent enough copy paper to print images on. It does seem to be a little bit thinner by the time you peel off the backing and stick it in. So I don't really care if this gets a little bulky. It doesn't really matter. And I should still have pages after I go through each of the cards at the back to record an introductory spread and a couple extra things in the back. Maybe there's 1 or 2 spreads from the guidebook that I do like enough to maybe try out and then put in here. But we'll see. I'm just going to probably leave those until I get to them, or as I feel interested in doing a little something else as like part of the deck study. But yeah, so I think I'm going to do key phrases, keywords. In this section, I'm probably going to pull from the guidebook the things that strike me the most for each of the cards that I want to keep here. And then in this side, I think what I really want to do is sit with the image and what I'm seeing in it and what is coming up for me, what message comes through for me with the way that this image is depicted in this deck, and have this right side of the book be for each of the cards. I think that's how I'm going to go about it. And I'm going to just set it up. I'll at least, get through the stickers and whatnot that I've printed today, and then set up the rest of it at some point. And then just go through as cards come up as I work with the deck, or however I feel like it. That part will just happen as it happens, I think. And they have this notebook. They have it in a couple different sizes. There's A5 if you want larger. There's also a slim B6. They don't have just B6. They have a slim B6, which I'm a little curious about, but I like how this, look how cute these are though. Isn't this cute? Anyway, I like how this is basically deck size. It's a little larger, but I think I like this. It gives me enough room, but not so much where I feel like I'm going to have to, come up with things to fill it up. I think this is enough room. We'll see as I do this. And if not, then I guess a B6 Slim for future projects like this might be the way to go. But I am pretty sure that this is going to work out well enough that I'll be happy with it. The one thing with this paper, once it sticks down, it's pretty precarious to lift it up, so you really want to try to get it on the first go, and I can't angle my head the way that I would if not for the camera, so wish me luck. And they also have, this is a dot grid version of this, but they have lined, they have graph, and they have blank as well. I just prefer dot grid because it gives me enough structure to keep things straight and lined up, but it's not, like, they're faint enough that they're hardly noticeable, especially once you have writing in it. All right, so that is 3 pages set up, and I think I'm going to keep doing this and alternating it so it's not just bulked up in one corner. It's at least spread a little bit. Okay, we'll do one more. And I wound up lighting my sunflower candle. Queen of Wands candle. Because to me, this is a pretty Queen of Wands. Divine Feminine deck. I also put this quote at the front. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. And that's by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, author of Women Who Run with the Wolves. I just kind of felt like this quote resonated for me. I might also come back and decorate this at some point. I don't know. But for now, I just want to get it set up so that when I do pull cards, I can come in and do like a little card study with that particular card. And again, I think I'm going to do keywords here, pull from the guidebook here. My handwriting's pretty small, so I can probably fit a decent amount. The other thing I like about these is that the grid spacing, I think, is 5mm. And I think 4 to 5 is like my sweet spot, because I have ones that have a smaller grid that, even though my handwriting's small, I like the more spaced out look, I think. And yeah, and then I'll leave the blank page on the other side for sitting with the card and the imagery and what I'm seeing in it and how that resonates for the meaning of the card and what intuitively is coming through for each card. And this is enough space that like I can write like a half page down and then have some room to grow into it, you know what I mean, as things come up repeatedly. And so over time, I will just build up my own meanings with these cards. And I think, let me think, how many cards or pages do I have left? I think it's something like 16 pages I have left after leaving, you know, full spreads for each card, including the minors and the courts. And this deck has 2 extra cards, so accounting for all of that, I should have about 16 pages at the back of this. Or maybe 14 with the front page that I took up. So I can do whatever other things. I might keep a page for like pairings. And then also I was thinking of having a page to keep like matched things. So like this candle, I would note down in here. Certain music or playlists I could note down in here. Maybe the crystal that I feel called to pair it with, I would note down in here. It has been a few weeks. I got cut off there because I ran out of space and had to deal with that. So I have been tinkering around with this for a few weeks now and kind of have a system. Also kind of have some problems because I wanted to do this in a particular way, which has to do with the pens. I'll leave that for the end because who cares? But anyway, what I've wound up doing is pretty much what I said, and I like how this is going. I've, put in all the cards, so they're all in here, and then I will just draw a card. I try to do it, 1 card a day, but it doesn't always work out like that. So just whenever I can, I'm just drawing a card and sort of feeling my way into this deck. And I do think it has very much like a Queen of Wands, like inspiration type of energy, creative and feminine and confident and a little bit cheeky kind of energy to it. And I'll pull my card, I'll sit with it, and so far what I've been doing is putting the whatever zodiacal association, I'm putting that at the top. I'm not putting a title because it just seems redundant with the card image. And then I'm taking the keywords from the guidebook that resonate with me for that image and adding those in. And then my own keywords, either for this card in general or that this card in particular brings up for me. So the way I'm delineating this, and this was part of me decorating it and making it fun in a way that's relatively low effort, is using 2 different pens. And one of them is 12th Night. These are both fountain pens, but it's inked with 12th Night, which is an Atlas Stationery's exclusive wear angle ink. And the other one is I think it's A Little Mermaid, also by Wear Angle. Now, I guess I'll deal with the pen thing real quick just right now. This one works great, and this Kakuno, fine. I did have to use just a little drop of kind of a modulator, a ink additive to thin it just slightly. This one worked great for a while, having done that. But for some reason, this last time I've inked it up, it's been giving me a lot of trouble in this pen. So I may have to find a different pen that this ink works with to keep doing this in a way where it looks relatively nice. But I don't know if I'll be able to show the shimmer. And if not, I'm just going to have to, I guess, put in a separate clip. But hopefully it will show how shimmery these inks are, which just brings me joy and makes me excited to do this. So it's part of what motivates me to do it. And I think it looks nice, the visual delineation between what I'm taking from the book, what I'm pulling from my own perspective, and then leaving this page for my reflections on the card. And for most of them, I'm like doing just a couple small paragraphs, and I'm not really filling up the page because some of them a little more than others. But what I'd like to do, like I said earlier in the video, is have room to grow when I really start working with the deck in spreads and a different aspect of the card kind of strikes me. I want to have a little bit of room to add that into the book. So that is pretty much what I've been doing so far. I haven't really had a repeating card, which is surprising because I've filled in a number of these at this point. But yeah, my last one from today was 5 of Swords, and I'll just open the book. Book clips are really awesome for this. Really great tool for guidebooks of in any situation. But I'll just open the book. I do the little top part. I've enjoyed pulling out the mantra that she has just because I like having that in there. And then the way I've been treating this, now this is where the pen was really driving me nuts, so I didn't even finish that today because I just re-inked it and was having all kinds of trouble. But the way I've been approaching this, because she, in the guidebook, goes through the artwork illumination, talking about the symbolism or why she created the artwork in the way that she did, and then goes into the light and the shadow meanings of the cards. I've been taking the keywords, putting the mantra, and then going through this illumination of the artwork section and pulling out the symbols and what they represent and just kind of like isolating it in a little bit more of a distilled way for me to glance at and be able to understand like why she worked the artwork the way that she did. And then I just kind of do bullet points of key meanings from both the light and the shadow that resonate for me the most, and kind of again distill them into this, and then sit with the image and what it brings up for me and what kind of story it tells me, and just kind of note that down in here. So it's been a nice kind of light practice. This one I hardly wrote much for. This is one of the extra cards, Mercury. Again, I don't know if you will see the shimmer. I really hope that that picks up somehow, because this makes me so happy. And yeah, I like how these wound up being pretty complementary colors for this deck. And I just find that very pleasing. So I'm trying not to care too much about making it perfect. There's been times I have messed up, either had to scratch something out, or at one point I picked up the wrong pen. I think it was here I picked up the wrong pen, or no, something was wrong with the pen. Oh no, I picked up the wrong pen because I have this one. I have 2 Kakunos in this color. One's a fine, one's a medium, and I had them both inked at the same time and got myself confused. So whatever, there's some mistakes, that's fine. I don't really care about that. It's more just enjoying the process of doing this, and then it happens to look kind of cute at the end and visually delineates my associations or my translations of the card in my own voice versus what I'm taking from the guidebook and whatnot. And that's how I've been doing this. And I really enjoy it. It's been kind of my spring-summer project. I don't think I will get done with it in the next month, but I'm at least making quite a bit of headway into gathering the meanings and my associations and interpretations of the artwork and what they kind of bring up for me, because this is a deck where, I don't know, like Altered Tarot doesn't do a traditional thing, right? It's its own creature of a deck. And that one I can just tap in intuitively pretty easily. But this deck is just a little interesting where it is useful for me to look at the guidebook and see what symbols she was using and why she was using them. And then sit with that and the image and weaving it together with a narrative that resonates for me with that card. Some of them, I have to say, are a little difficult for me. I don't immediately, I guess, intuitively connect with them, but most of them, when I have sat through and done this process of distilling from the guidebook and then really sitting with the artwork, I've been able to make sense of them in a way that really resonates and begins to speak to me. So I'm still working through that. I think I'll go a little bit further into doing that before I do like a spread or get really intentional about what I'm asking this deck. Just because, I don't know, it's helping me understand the voice of this to do this sort of a deck study with it. And of course, I already started pulling together like cover designs in Canva for a couple of the other decks that I want to do this with. Because I think Witches is one I don't know that Altered really I need to do this with. Like it would be maybe fun, maybe if I at some point want to really deepen my relationship with that deck, rather than having to go through my journals and pick out like, oh, when I pulled this card, you know, this kind of voice came through to me or whatever it is. But I think for decks where I really want to study them or like Hush Tarot might be the one I do for autumn. I don't know. I did end up getting a B12 Slim because I was just ever so curious and was thinking that this is going to be what I use for the Oracle deck I made for myself, because that is 104 cards, I think. So I can't do a full spread of the A6 size. So I thought if I can only put one card per page, that a B12 Slim would give me more room, but again, not too much room. Because if I put an image up over here, I think that gives me enough to explore the card and to really write the story of what that means for me. Maybe do the same thing, have keywords, key phrases be next to the card, and then whatever. I don't know. It could be poetry. It could be anything. I don't know how I'm going to want to do that exactly. But I haven't really set it up because I still, like, not all the images are like the final images in my Oracle deck. And there's cards that I want to change or add or change the title of or whatever. So I'm kind of like stalled on that. And I'm thinking I might just need to get over it or leave like the card area blank and start using it, because I've been working with that deck and I want to be able to add into the guidebook doesn't even feel like the right word, add into the book of the deck as I work with it. So yeah, that has been, at least with She Wolfe, my Diaries of a She Wolfe, and how I've been working with this guidebook. And then as far as how thick it made it, you can see like the little bit of difference. I think staggering the images the way I did help keep this from being like oddly bulky in one corner. It's at least distributed on the top and then is slimmer down at the bottom, but it's not too weird. It has worked out fine. And also, I didn't even notice this, but this in the dot grid version, the string page marker matches the cover, and it's just highly satisfying for me. So anyway, I think that about sums up my guidebook, like creating my own personal guidebook for this deck and getting to know this deck through doing that practice. And yeah, it's been a fun process. Hopefully this was somewhat inspiring or whatnot, or just fun to hang out while I explore this process. And other than that, I hope you have a lovely day, evening, or whatever it is by you, and I'll catch you in the next one.